We're going to explain how to tell C to truncate trailing zeros from floating point numbers. This is a common task when you need to display or store numbers in a more concise way, avoiding unnecessary precision. There's no single C function that directly does this, so we need a combination of techniques. 1. Using printf for formatted output. The simplest way to handle trailing zeros is to use the printf function with the correct format specifier. The printf format specifier lets you control the number of digits after the decimal point. Presents the number of decimal places you want. For example, print %.2f 3.1400 will output 3.14. This truncates, not rounds. If you have a number like 3.14500, print %2f 3.14500 will output 3.14 because it truncates the extra digits. This is useful if you only need to display the number without the trailing zeros. The underlying number still retains its precision. 2. Converting to a string and removing trailing zeros. A more robust approach involves converting the floating point number to a string representation. You can achieve this using the sprintf function. Then you'll need to iterate through the string from the end, removing trailing zeros and potentially a trailing decimal point if all the digits after it are zeros. This requires more code, but it lets you manipulate the number as a string. You might need to check if the last character is a 0 or a ta before removing them. Remember to handle edge cases such as numbers with no decimal part and purely zero values. 3. Using senprintf for safety. Senprintf is a safer alternative to sprintf because it prevents buffer overflows. Always use senprintf when dealing with string manipulation to avoid potential security vulnerabilities. The process is similar to using sprintf. Convert the float to a string using senprintf, then process the string to remove trailing zeros. 4. Dealing with negative numbers. When working with negative numbers, remember to account for the minus sign in your string manipulation. Your code should correctly handle negative numbers without errors. 5. Alternative approaches, advanced. For highly optimized performance or specific scenarios, you could potentially use custom functions that work directly with the floating point representation in binary. However, this is generally more complex and requires in-depth understanding of floating point number formats. Unless you have strict performance needs, sticking to the string manipulation approach is simpler and safer. In summary, the most practical methods for truncating trailing zeros involve using printf for output formatting or converting to a string, and then removing trailing zeros using string manipulation with senprintf. The latter approach gives you more control, but requires slightly more code. Choose the method that best suits your needs, and remember to always consider safety and edge cases in your implementation.